Hey, look at my wrench.
Ew.
Yeah. Honey. Look at my drive shaft.
Yuck.
Yeah. So what we got working on today for the entire day is hopefully trying to pull this old 318 out of my W150. So this is going to be like the second part of the teardown video, and then eventually I'll be tearing down the actual 318 and I'll make little clips and videos and stuff out that as well. So wish me luck, and I will come up with different ideas and things that come up during trying to take this 318 out that you guys might have to think about, and you know, if you're working on your own stuff. So wish me luck, and we'll see. So this is one of those predicaments where I really am not sure about what to do about this. I don't know a lot about the vacuum systems on these trucks. I know more of the mechanical trucks, like my 83 I had. This is an 85, literally everything's vacuum controlled. Like this right here is the unit that comes out of the heater box. And this plugs right into one of the heating lines that go from the cab to the water pump. And that's what kicks the valve on and off to allow the coolant to flow through while running hot air and what have you. So I know that. But when it comes to all the rest of this stuff, this truck came from California. So it was bogged down pretty heavily with a pollution air pump, with a charcoal canister and all that good stuff. So like when you look up in here at all these vacuum lines, this vacuum amplifier, this thingy-majigger right here, whatever that does, it apparently amplifies the vacuum, but I don't know anything about it. There's a lot of vacuum lines that I'm going to try and delete and hope that I can still get the motor to run when I'm done. Like this thing. What is this thing? What is that? Got a whole crap ton of vacuum lines going to it. I think it went to the air conditioner. I don't know, but I don't want air conditioning. I don't want this thing in my truck. Off my truck. I do know that there's a couple vacuum lines I'm going to have to keep, such as that one right there that comes out of that splitter and then hops up and goes across, and it ends up back over here going into the heater control unit. So from the splitter it jumps from the carburetor. So I know I'm gonna have to keep that for the heater control unit, and obviously like this vacuum line for the valve on the line I was telling you about. And then like this one, I just went over and I realized it runs up through here, and it ran to the splitter, or this T, and then the splitter that runs to the manifold as well as, or the intake manifold as well as the carburetor with this plug here. I was like, all right, what is this line? You know, and I started pulling on it, and if you see up there, you can see my blue tape. Luckily, I wrote the other day that that's the vacuum control line that goes to the computer. So I may need to keep that for the computer, just as a off my truck. This vacuum line goes to the transmission, remember that. Another really dumb little simple trick is always take photos. Like before I unplug these connectors, I'm just taking a crap ton of photos so that I can just go back to the photos or the videos if I ever need to in the future, just to get everything assembled again. This is a very normal part of the process of working on these trucks, is being on the floor looking for that tiny little nut you just dropped. So I figured I'd throw that out there as well. Found the washer. I have not found the nut. Haha! So this is kind of a cool little bit. Once you run through the electrical system and you unplug everything from the motor, as well as all the exterior lights and what have you, all that's left is this box here. That's what plugs into your firewall to lead to your dash and all your control panels and the electrical harness on the interior. And then just one bolt with a, right there if you can see it, with a ground cable. But yeah, that's it. You literally now can just remove the entire wiring harness for your truck. One quick note is that the wiring harness, or the section of the wiring harness that runs to your alternator, O2 sensor from the distributor, all that good stuff, that's kind of a separate independent piece once you start unplugging everything. So just a heads up, that's still going to be on there, and you got it. What you eating? Oh, Jimmy John. So to drop the transfer case, we got to remove the rear drive shaft U-joint there, and then there's also the front drive shaft we're going to have to remove right here, that greasy one you can see. And then you remove the skid plate, which is just a bunch of random bolts like there that I just loosened. And then once the skid plate's down, you got the tail shaft mount right there. that goes on that cross member. So you have to remove those 2 bolts and then support the tail end of the transmission with a jack when you go up top and put your engine hoist on the engine. So yeah. So this is the skid plate below the transmission and the tail shaft mount. And there's the 2 bolts I was talking about, which we'll get to once we remove the skid plate. Okay, so with the skid plate being off, you can definitely see a lot easier the 2 bolts that hold on to the tail shaft piece that sit on the cross member. The cross member is going to be removed as well, which is just a few bolts. The skid plate was only 5 bolts, 2 on the rear and 3 on the front. And now we're going to work on dropping the transfer case. Okay, I think I changed my mind and I'm going to try and remove the entire assembly in one piece. Just drop the 2 drive shafts. Pull the U-joints, drop the drive shafts, and drop the cross member, and see if I can pull it all in one shot with my engine hoist. Because otherwise it's just a pain in the butt to get some of them bolts to get that transfer case off. So we're going to see. It's a learning experience, you know. I just got the front drive shaft out, and the rear, which is just held on by those 4 bolts that hold the clamps for the U-joint, which I already put back up in the transfer case right there. But look at how just greasy, man. You gotta go in every 5 minutes to wash my hands because it's driving me nuts. Just nasty. Yeah. Hey, look at my wrench.
Ew.
So the shift linkage here, like a Z-bar for a clutch with a manual transmission, it's kind of the same concept. Had to be pulled out of that plastic bushing there, and then there is a plastic bushing on the transmission right there that rod popped into, and that was a little bit of a pain. My buddy actually took care of that. And then with the transmission, the 2 large bolts there, well, 1 large bolt sticking out still because it didn't come out, and then 1 on the other side, which is the bushings there. Those are all busted loose. Transfer case is busted loose. All we gotta do is cut off the exhaust pipes, and I even removed the carburetor so we can use the chain and not mess up the carburetor in case I'm gonna sell it. It's just that easy. Right? Just that easy. So sitting here at the end of the night, 9:30 at night on a Wednesday, and this is what we accomplished. This is where we are. Engine, transmission, transfer case sitting on the floor ready for tear down. So this is essentially part 2 of the W150 teardown, and then we're going to be into the actual motor and degreasing and painting and all that good stuff. So yeah, if you did end up watching my videos or my previous video of the W150 teardown, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming around. I hope you enjoy it and maybe learn something or whatever. So I'll see you later.